Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Atlanta-based jazz vocalist Virginia Schenck, or VA. She is an accomplished international vocal artist and a jazz performer, utilizing both straight-ahead spoken word and free improvisation. Stirred and moved by the current need of civil and human rights action, VA created her latest album, Battle Cry, to use the power of music to generate change. The message of her new album is not only of resistance, but also of peace, unity, and hope. She was born and raised in Florida and has gone on to release acclaimed albums and stays quite busy in a career that has given her so much. So please get to know her and dig this interview, my friends.
And hopefully I get through this with my voice is cracking like Peter Brady, because I screamed so much last night. So hopefully
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hopefully it won't be reflective, but at any rate, Virginia, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome. And if you want to, mention that, for this interview, you sure can. So really excited for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. It's very good. So let's get into your latest album, Battle Cry. Give me an idea of what your artistic vision mission was with this project.
Well, it's interesting. I never go into a project with the idea, I think I'll do a project. What would I do that on? I think I'll do XYZ. What happens for me is that it's a very organic process. I, add songs to my set list, what I'm interested in. I mean, it has to be something I really want to sing, of course, and sing about and talk about and share with, my audiences. And I found myself before the last election cycle just encouraging people to vote, just, exercise your voice and get out there and vote. And then I was reflecting on and realizing that my grandmother, my mother's mother, was a suffragette in Philadelphia in the 1920s and had just helped women get the right to vote. And, of course, that was just so palpable for me that it's only been 2 generations. And my concern for voter apathy or voter suppression, et cetera. And so I just started talking about that from, the stage and encouraging people and, my love for our beautiful country. And these songs kind of kept adding up. And so this is what happens for me, is I kind of then look behind me and realize, oh, I've got a constellation of material here I think is worthy of putting into a project and going into the recording studio. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. I had scheduled my band for, this was recorded in August of 2018, and I had scheduled my band for, a week of rehearsals and stuff to do some good shedding together. And a month before, I just went, oh, this is what we need to do. So I called them up and said, okay, guys, here's what's up. And, they were so wholeheartedly supportive. So that's kind of how it came about.
Cool, very cool. Let's get to the beginnings of your life and how all of this began for you. You were you're in Georgia now, but you were raised in Florida. So
correct.
Give me an idea of your childhood and how music became your destiny, so to speak.
Wow. Well, I'm the youngest of 4 children, so it's a very active household, as you can imagine. And my parents were both really avid music lovers, and my dad's dad was a music composer of musical theater. I didn't get to know him because he died before I was born. And my mom's dad was an amateur bluegrass musician that played a lot. But my parents bonded over opera. They sang in choir. We always had music going in the house, everything from, Glenn Miller kind of swing to Patsy Cline's earthy country to Mahalia Jackson to Peter, Paul, and Mary, just a wide swath, classical, everything. And then, of course, my siblings with their own things that they were listening to as I was growing up. And in fact, my 2 sisters, who are the middle kids, they were taking piano lessons, and I really wanted to take piano lessons. And age 4 or 5, and they weren't doing so well. play. And my mother said, well, I'm going to make you wait. I think they started too young. And so she made me wait till I was 8 to start piano lessons, which is not, 5 is not too young. But I would go and sneak in. I would listen to what they were playing, and I would sneak in and just go pick it out on the piano and just kind of zoomed along. So I started piano. I was singing in church choirs, and school choirs and every ensemble you can imagine, and, music theater growing up. And I always wanted to sing jazz. And I'm not sure quite where that came from, but I would ask my parents, and in Central Florida, growing up in the 60s and 70s, they just didn't really know where to send me. So they kept, hooking me up with Western classical music lessons, which is, a fine background, but it wasn't taking me to the ultimate place I wanted to be. So it wasn't until I got to college at Florida State in the School of Music that I then could really venture into jazz. And then I had to kind of supplement because, through education you have to, still pretty pervasive in our music education system is that you need to audition and jury and go through the Western classical hoops of that sort of music education. But so that kind of gets us to college. How you doing?
Well, tell me, what was the first live jazz show you saw that really made you think, man, this is it?
Wow. First live jazz show. I would say more of my background came from recordings, and I remember being in Asheville, North Carolina, and I've also worked many years as a music therapist, which was my day job for many, many years. And I remember hearing Satin Doll come on in a restaurant, and I just thought, I have to be singing this music. Now, I had already been doing some stuff with jazz ensembles in college and little gigs around town and stuff, but it just hit me to the core. I'll have to think about live performance. Nothing's coming to my memory at this very moment, but, just in restaurants or where you might have local people playing and, hit swing and it just goes right to your soul,
Has the stage always been a place of comfort for you, a second home?
Yes, love it.
Did you always know that this was going to be your life, or were there other things that were kind of on your radar?
Well, there were other things on my radar, which I am grateful for, because you never know where this sort of life will take you and what will pan out and what will sustain you physically, financially, emotionally, etc. So as I mentioned, my day job was as a music therapist, and which I really love the message of music, the power of music to not only heal us, but for social change and, the spirit of it. So I love teaching. I've done that for a number of years, all through the years at varying levels. I love giving back. I also teach retreats where I work with singers on the real essence of their voice and what's coming from their core, which I love doing that. And I do that internationally so that we really listen hard to other influences in the world and integrate that if we are interested into our work. Yes, I do a variety of things, but it all centers around music. And what comes back to jazz is that improvisational spirit, which is paramount for good music making, good expression, staying in the moment, being relevant, making it fresh, all those sorts of things, and being a flexible human in the world as life changes. So it speaks to all those things for me.
So let's say you come to Kansas City, you go down to 18 and Vine, and you perform. But before you come, you have to write up some kind of PR release to get people, excited about deciding to come to your show. How would you describe what you do live to get people to sit in the seat and watch you live?
Well, I never do the same thing twice. I never have done like a set show. So I'm always wanting to change it up, and being live and the interaction with the audience, of course, is just so delicious. And it's a conversation, me with you, with who's in the room, the energy of the room, the repartee with the room and the people there. So I think that real aliveness is something that really makes me, I don't know, I mean, there are other people that do that too, but I think that's one of the things that really sparks for me and would draw folks in. Relevancy and, if something's happened in the news that day or the day before, I'm going to probably talk about it. So it's always fresh, and you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I just love that. So that's what I think of.
Right on. So everyone has a perception or a version of who they think you are, your family, your friends, students, fans, but you live your life. You know who you are. Tell me, who do you think you are?
Oh, I love that. Well, I think I am one human walking this planet with one voice, and certainly with my own opinions, but I love being community and having conversation, and I mean that either musically or in verbal dialogue. And I love that back and forth. I mean, it's not just my way or the highway. It's like, let's have a conversation. And I feel very informed by my spiritual life. It's very important to me. Emotional well-being, physical well-being for all people is very important to me. I think those are the things that drive me.
Right on. Hey, Virginia, thank you for taking a minute out to talk about your new album and your life and music. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in Florida, Georgia, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to VA for her time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.